I'm Allie Z and welcome to my Flosstube. I'm really excited to be here today. I wanted to film like all last week and the weather has just been terrible and I've been waiting to film because I have a big finish. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, so the big news for today, it's going to be a regular Flosstube, but the big news for today is that I finished my queen bee. Woo! Oh, I'm so excited. So this is actually my first Mirabilia finish. I've finished Nora Corbett designs before, but I have never finished a full Mirabilia. Are you ready for this gorgeousness? All right. Here she is. Ooh. Ah. Oh my God, you guys. She is so gorgeous. So I have been waiting for the weather to be good so I could show her in the sunlight, get the colors true, all of that. But truly filming, video, photos cannot do this justice. How gorgeous she is, how amazing she looks. You can really see how intricate the stitching is. Beautiful. She's really beautiful. So I'm gonna hold her up close to the camera. I might get a little bit loud, so sorry about that, but I'm gonna hold her up close to the camera just to show off some of the details. So this top section, I think, really shows off Nora's stunning design ability. So if you look at the shading in this stonework, I mentioned that during my whip parade, but if you look at the shading in that stonework, it's just gorgeous. The way that she gets that curved shape without any backstitch is beautiful. If you look at the honeycombs, there's a bunch of beaded honeycombs. There's those bees that are backstitched and beaded. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And then we move on to the queen. So pretty. Love that ruff, that big fluffy ruff around her dress. You can see those curls done with the backstitch and the beading, beautiful. The net on her hair. And then you see the bodice of her dress is all beaded. Again, gorgeous. And then you get down to this skirt. This gorgeous, gorgeous skirt. Okay, so there's actually, again, not a ton of backstitching in this design. There's a little bit of backstitch in these little ruffles here, but other than that, no backstitching in the skirt. Now I do want to get a little bit closer with this beading. Look at that on that cage skirt. Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. She's just stunning. She's just stunning. Yeah, I love her. I cannot wait to hang her. So I am going to be getting this framed. Here, I'll hold it back here. So I'm going to be getting this framed by Rensel Studios, which is in Utah. If you don't know Rensel Studios, it's Rensel. If you Google them, they will come up. Rensel Studios is run by, I believe, a mother-daughter team, but is run by two artists who frame. They are very experienced in framing needlework. They cut custom mats, and they also paint the mats. So I'm really excited for that. I am currently debating whether I should ship her off now because they have a year waiting period once you ship off your piece. So I'm currently debating whether I should ship her off now to get framed, or if I should wait and take her to the mirror retreat with me and show her off there and then ship her to get framed. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. Oh, and sort of fun. At the last mirror retreat in 2023, I had Nora actually sign her on the bottom. So I have Nora's signature on this as well. And I want to sign her right here. But so far I've been too scared to do it. I need to grab a Carpie and do some cursive practice. No, a Sharpie and do some practice. But yeah, I'm scared. Also, my signature is like a little, it's a scribble. Like you really can't read my name. So that's part of why I haven't signed it yet. Cause I'm like, oh, you know, you won't be, but I do want to sign it next to Nora because this is a collaboration between her beautiful design and my beautiful stitching. Let me lean back so you can get the full view again. She is just so stunning. So stunning. Oh my God. I love her. The other cool thing that I have is I actually had the opportunity to purchase the original artwork for Queen Bee. And I was very fortunate in that Nora allowed me to purchase this artwork. So here is her sort of original sketch. I have her in the plastic, which is why there's a bit of shine, but here's the original sketch. Which I purchased as well. So I do want to get that framed in addition to my stitching to hang them next to each other. Now my idea was to frame them in a big ass double frame, like huge frame with like two, you know, a mat that's cut with 2 holes for these pieces. But I don't know. I do know that that will make it huge and hard to ship and hard to like hang. So I might get them framed separately, but like as a pair, I'm not sure yet. So I'm going to hold this up a little bit closer just so you guys can see Nora's amazing detailing on here. Beautiful, right? I love it. I almost wish, I don't actually wish this, but I almost wish had I seen this before I stitched her, I think I would have been very tempted to maybe do like this stonework in backstitch instead of in cross stitch, and you know, to sort of have made, you can see in the image like the cage skirt is like a lot more obvious in terms of sort of the structure, and I think I would have been tempted to modify her design to sort of more closely echo this, but I am actually glad also that you can sort of see the difference between how the drawing got translated into cross stitch. I also think, like I said, that stonework on the top, like it's gorgeous. I mean, it just looks beautiful stitched. So hold on, let me hold them up with each other. So like, yes, the drawing is really cool and it would have looked very cool in backstitch, but like, it looks even cooler, honestly, all stitched in. Also, this was my first Mira, so I'm sort of happy that I stitched her as called for, basically. It was a good experience for me to do that, and I love, love, love the way she came out. This fabric is Dark Gilded by Mystic Fabrics. This is the only Mystic fabric that I've ever used. I was really happy with it. I definitely want to buy more of their stuff. I was determined to stitch her on like a yellow fabric, and I tried out several. I really wanted like a deep like honey color. And this is perfect. This is perfect. This is, I believe, a 32 count Lugana. It's definitely a Lugana. I believe it's 32. So this is a 32 count Dark Gilded by Mystic Fabrics. She is stitched with all of the called for, with the exception that I substituted Petite Treasure Braid for Krynic. It's a pretty common substitution. Petite Treasure Braid is supposedly easier to work with than Krynic. I don't know, actually. I've never stitched. This was my first piece with metallics in it. So I don't know, but yeah, she's gorgeous. I'm like so excited. I want to just keep holding her up because she's so pretty. I'm so thrilled. She looks stunning. She's just stunning. Yeah, and I think this piece also just like really highlights the difference between a Mirabilia and a Nora. You know, when I've stitched Noras, I've finished them like fairly quickly. Now, I did take a long break from stitching her between the queen and the top. Like I finished the queen by October of 2023, and then it took me over a year to finish her. But I mean, even the queen was just substantially more stitching. And then you had that whole structure too. So definitely more stitching, more beading, all of that. But God, she looks incredible. And the level of detail too, like even in her face, and like I messed up her lips a little bit, but I'm leaving it because I kind of like it. actually. But like, even if you just look, like the level of detail, like in the back stitch in her face, like in that ruff and those little curls, I mean, gorgeous, stunning. She's stunning. I love her. Yeah. I also will say, you know, I am not someone who is super fussy about how my stitches look. I'm often like, I just want to get it stitched. I mean, I try to be careful. I'm not just like, I, you know, try to make sure the legs of my stitches go the same way, all that kind of stuff. But I'm not the neatest stitcher. My stitches are not like perfect. But when you know, it's one of those things where like when you hold it back, you really can't tell. You really can't. Using my favorite Queen City cup today. It's absolutely massive. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, it looks like all the stitches are perfect when I hold it back. They're not at all. You know, just to help people feel like a little bit better about their own stitching. I'm like looking, even now, like I'm looking at it to sort of find like sections where the stitches are not perfect, but honestly, like it looks really good. It all sort of fluffs out, you know? And I was nervous too, because when I started stitching this, I was like, oh, it looks like there's like little holes in the Lugana, like, you know, the stitches are pulling, and, you know, I was nervous about that. Even in the white stitching, like, you know, I just held up her chest. I'll hold her up again there because you can see like white stitching is not very forgiving. But like it looks pretty, I mean, yeah, okay. When I hold it way up to the camera, you can see like some of these stitches are a little bit fluffier or whatever. But like honestly, it doesn't, from here, no. Even from here, like looks really good. So I'm very happy. She's amazing. She's gorgeous. Let's hold her up again. And she's been a big motivator to keep working on my other Miras. Now, I don't have anything else that's like even close to this done because I've really focused on her. So yeah, it's an opportunity to work on my other Miras. I'm really excited. Yeah, I'm thrilled. So all good things, very exciting. All right, so that's my big finish for this video. That's my big finish for now. Not sure when I'm gonna get another one, but that's okay. I also, like I said in my whip parade, I stitch what I want when I want to stitch it. I've been starting a bunch of stuff. I've been stitching on whatever I want. I tend to like, especially if I'm having a long stitching day, I'll like move from project to project. So I'll stitch on something for a couple of hours and then stitch on something else and then like start something. And so I've just been floating around doing what I want. So I'm going to start this video with my new starts. Start the rest of the video with my new starts and then transition into my whips. I have quite a few new starts actually. So the first one that I'm going to show is a start on a long dog that I really love called Two Men's Morris. I'll put a picture of it here. So Long Dog actually has recently come out with several really awesome new like sea theme designs, which I really like. One is called the Seventh Wave, which I have purchased and definitely want to stitch. One is called Fishy Goings On, which I have purchased and definitely want to stitch. But I've had Two Men's Morris in my collection for a while. I've been wanting to start a long dog, a big long dog. And I went to Bryn Mawr College, which is very like traditional academia. It sort of looks like Hogwarts, like it's beautiful. And one of the traditions, there's a lot of traditions there. And one of the traditions that we have there is called May Day. So basically like the last Sunday of the semester, which is usually around the 1st of May, we have a lot of colleges, I think, have like a spring festival of some kind. So that's what Bryn Mawr does. They have a big spring festival, but they put up maypoles. Each class gets to do their own like maypole dance. And, there's a bunch of other traditions as well. There's like a parade in the morning with the college president and everybody wears white. It's really super fun. If I remember to, I'll like put some photos in my video from my college days a while ago. And it's open to anyone. Anyone can come on campus and celebrate, but it's just a big fun day. And as part of the celebration, at Bryn Mawr, they have Morris dancers who are a very specific type of like Scottish, I don't know, Scottish? English? Irish maybe? I don't know, but they're a very specific type of like folk dancers. And they dance with like swords and it's very cool. Anyway, this design both reminded me of the Morris dancers and also I love the motifs in it. There's a lot of really cool like fantasy motifs. There's a lot of cool animal motifs, which Long Dog is known for. And it just made me think of Bryn Mawr. So, and I hadn't picked out a fabric or a floss for it, but I was like determined, and I'll pop the design back up, but I was determined to find something from my stash. I have a huge stash. I recently like went through and organized all my fabrics. Like I have so much. There's no reason for me not to stitch from my stash. So I was determined to find something from my stash. Now, this design is 270 stitches by 296 stitches. So it's essentially 270 by 300. If you do that math, it's huge. And I have a lot of big designs. I mean, I have a bunch of Miras. I have Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow on 32 count. Like, I have a lot that is large. And basically, if I stitched 2 Ben's Morris on anything over like a 40 count 2/2, it was gonna be huge. I mean, I don't think it would have fit on a fat quarter with anything over like a 40 count 2/2, so 20 count basically. Or anything larger than 20 count in terms of stitch size. So a smaller number, larger stitch size. However, I was going through my collection and I found a piece of 25 count Lugana that is hand dyed that I was thinking about using for something else. Actually another Long Dog, and decided that it wasn't a good fit for the vibe that I wanted. So it's been sitting in my stash. And I pulled it out and I realized that on 25 count, this piece would be about 12 by 12. And I was like, great, that's perfect. Awesome. Okay. That is a manageable size. We can do that. And I actually had a fat half of this 25 count. So I like picked out a section, I cut it in half and I like picked out a section that I liked. And so I started it. This is Chloris by Under the Sea Fabrics. And this is 25 count Lugana. And this is the half that I picked out from my fabric. It's washing out a little bit in the sunlight. This blue is like a lot deeper and bluer in real life. But this is the fabric. And I counted and counted and counted again. And I wanted to see what it would look like. And so I basically started it over here and it's going to go this way. And so this is the part of the fabric that it's going to be stitched on. And once again, I was like, you know what? I want to stitch out of stash for this. And I thought a blue would be nice. So every class at Bryn Mawr has its own class color. And the 4 class colors are dark blue, light blue, green, and red. And my class color was dark blue. And so I was like, okay, I want to stitch this in dark blue as sort of like a nod to Bryn Mawr, and also like it's pretty. And I realized that I have a cone of dark blue floss, and thus would not need to buy any DMC. And so I like crossed my fingers that it would look good on the fabric. And that's what this is. At some point in my life, I bought a mini cone of 825. Pretty generic blue. I think I was stitching like, you know, the mandala, like sort of geometric mandala-y designs by 2x2 stitch art on Etsy. I was stitching one of those for a friend and she wanted it in blue. So I bought like a cone of blue. And here's my start. Ta-da! The thing that's so crazy is like, so this is 25 count 1/1. This is like, I don't know, like 75 stitches and it looks like nothing. I mean, the piece itself is huge. I want to say it's like 40,000 stitches, 60,000, something like that. It's like some crazy number of stitches, but the point is it's tiny. And, you know, I'm not sure. It's interesting because I don't stitch a lot of small counts like that. I tend to, or high counts, I guess. I tend to stitch, my sweet spot, I think, is like 32 count. I really like the way things look 2/2 on 32 count. And things are very delicate and pretty on 40 count, it's true, but to me, the stitches are like too small. I don't know. I like to see the X, I think, and I like to like see the stitches. So it is a little small, and I'm a little nervous that you're gonna lose some of the detail of the motifs like on such a small count, but I'm gonna keep stitching and see what I think. Just to show you a little bit more what the floss color will look like, I pulled some floss off of the cone, and here's the floss against the fabric. I think that's really pretty. I like the blue with the green. Like, I think it looks really good. I think it's going to be really nice. So yeah, I'm excited to see how that comes along. I decided to just put in some stitches as a start, so that way when I want to stitch on it, I can. So in addition to this long dog, I also started another long dog. So I had initially started, oh, I don't remember what it was called, but basically, Jules from Long Dog designed some smaller designs called peccadillos that are, I think, like under 10,000 stitches is what she said. And there's 15 of them. They're very cute. They're all sort of named after like liaison, flirtation, like holiday romance. They're all sort of cute like that. And I had started one and was not really enjoying stitching it a ton and ended up ripping out all of my progress because I wanted to use the fabric for a different one. And so I spent a night ripping out everything I had stitched on the other one, which it was stitched in sulky. And let me tell you, sulky is a pain in the ass to frog. It really like is not fun. And I know people love stitching with sulky. I have not loved stitching with the sulky. I just don't love the way it sits. Like with my stitch, I don't know. I'm just not that into it, but I do love the color and on my fabric. Anyway, so let me show you my new start, which again is not much. And I basically just started to make sure that I could position on the fabric. So here's my whopping new start. Yeah, that's right. So here's my whopping new start. This fabric is by Hand Dye by Rolanda. I love it. You can see I really like this pale periwinkle color. It's actually showing up brighter and like darker on the camera than it looks in person. In person, it blends more with the fabric. And I was sort of bummed actually because I really love this yellow and I wanted to stitch more in the yellow, but when I was frogging, I accidentally cut some of the fibers in the actual fabric, and I thought about trying to stitch over them, but because of how the design is, like I couldn't guarantee that that would happen, so I basically moved this to a different place on my fabric. And I'm going to be stitching it here, and I keep saying all this without showing you the design. So the design is called Flirtation, and I'll put it up here. So hopefully I still have the photo of the design up. Here is my start. I think it will be very pretty with that like tone on tone kind of look, with this soft fabric with all the modeling. Really pretty. This is a 16 count Aida, I believe. Yeah. I was going to say 18 count. I don't think it is. I don't think it's that small. And the sulky that I am using is 1030. And it looks like this. So I feel like you can sort of see on the spool that it's like a softer blue. And I think it's going to be lovely with this design. I'm going to keep stitching with the sulky even though I don't love the experience. I wonder if I like get into it more, maybe I'll like it better. I don't know. It's fine. Like, it's fine. I don't know that I would choose to do it again. Yeah. And like 16 count, it gets good coverage. Like it's a good size to stitch on the 16 count, but anyway, so that's another long dog start. So now I have 2 on the go that I'm excited to stitch on. Looking forward to working on those. Now, my next new start was actually a piece by Need-A-Lot Designs. Now, I love Need-A-Lot Designs. The way that she does animals and works with color, gorgeous. I'm a member of her like monthly club, which is, it's like a Patreon, but it's hosted on Ko-Fi instead. And so we get a new design every month. I don't remember if this was one of the monthly designs, but it was, but it is one of her designs. I believe it's now available in her shop either way. It's called Book Dragon. I will put a photo of it here. And as many of you I'm sure have heard, as you might know, a book came out recently called Onyx Storm. It's part of I think it's technically called the Empyrean series. It's like a young adult romantasy and emerging adult romantasy series. I really enjoyed the first book, really did not like the second book, but was like, I'm gonna read the third book because I'm interested in like what happens. So I reread the first and second books, read the third book. But anyway, a lot of people started dragon things in honor of Fourth Wing and the new book release. So I decided to hop on board. Also, I just love this design and think it's very cute. So here is my start, and I started this on, this is 36 count, Ancient by Picture This Plus, and I am stitching 2/2 to get nice chunky coverage for these colors, and here is my start. I had actually started this on a plainer piece of Ada and decided that it was boring and I wanted it on more fun fabric, so I decided to restart it on Ancient. I think it's gonna look great. I love the Ancient with the color palette. Yeah, these stitches are super chunky, especially like Picture This Plus fabric is pretty tight. And so you can see 2/2 on 36 count with DMC on Picture This Plus is chunky. But you get really, really great coverage that way. So think he's looking good. I'm excited. That'll be a fun stitch. And there's like a lot of block fill-in on her animals. So that'll be like an easy, it's nice to have those easy projects that you can just fill in on. Okay. My next start. So I love Valentine's Day. It's one of my favorite holidays. And I love pink. I love red, as you can see. I love telling people how awesome they are. I love candy. Like, what is there not to love about Valentine's? Everything's so cute. Like, what is there not to love about Valentine's Day? I love Valentine's Day. And when I was a kid, like my parents would make a big deal over it. Like my dad always got me a gift in addition to my mom. And even when I was in college, like my parents would send me like a Valentine's Day care package. So I'm very attached to this holiday. And so I was like, I need to do a Valentine's start. I love Valentine's Day. I have a few really cute patterns. And I've been dying to start one of the little Primrose Cottage Quakers. They have like seasonal ones and holiday ones. And so I started the Primrose Cottage Valentine's Quaker. I also bought a couple of others. I eventually want to stitch most of them, but I'm going to start with Valentine's. So here's the pattern. And I decided to sort of do my own thing with colors. So there are 4 Summer House Stitchwork patterns. It's like, one is called Summer Refreshes, Spring Awakens. I don't know. It's like, but it's 4 patterns and you stitch them in like bars of color, or you can stitch them monochrome, but they're charted in bars of color. And so I had this idea that it would be cool to do these seasonal Quakers or holiday Quakers in like a similar way with the bars of color. And I had actually purchased a floss pack from Color and Cotton that I was looking for a place to use because I love the color, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. So I decided this is being stitched on 40 count Sugar Rush by Bestitch Me, which I love. It's like it's a soft, like peachy neutral, gorgeous. You know, you hear people talk a lot about Vanilla Latte, which I also bought. So Bestitch Me just did a ready to ship sale where she like had all this fabric dyed and shipped it out, which I loved. because I do not like waiting for my hand-dyed fabric. And anyway, people are always talking about how great vanilla latte is as a neutral. So I was like, great, I'll use this as an opportunity to buy a couple pieces. So I bought some vanilla latte. And then I also saw this color, Sugar Rush, which also looked like a very pretty neutral. And I would say vanilla latte sort of leans more towards like the yellower side, and Sugar Rush leans more towards like a pinker side. So here is my start. And this is, I think, pretty true to color. Again, it's getting like a little washed out by the sun, but it's pretty, and you can sort of see it has like, it's almost like a pink toned, it's like a little bit pinkier neutral, peachier neutral. Now, I actually have put in 3 of the colors in my gradient. So here, it's a little hard to see the difference between the first and the second one in the camera, but you can see it in person. And let me hold up my flosses for you. So the pack that I bought, Color and Cotton does these gradient sets. And they're not colors in their regular line. They are colors specifically dyed to be part of this gradient set. So this is I believe it's called the pink gradient, bubblegum gradient. Hold on, let me look at the card. Yes, it is the bubblegum gradient set. And so the colors are just named after the gradient. So you have bold bubblegum, dark bubblegum, medium bubblegum, soft bubblegum, and pale bubblegum. So it's 5 flosses. Here, let me put the fabric behind it. So it's 5 pink flosses. These are like cooler toned pinks. These are like, if you ask me my favorite color pink, I would say like these 2 bold pinks, the bold and the dark, are probably like my favorite colors of all time. That like, is it pink? Is it red? Sort of dark pink. I love. So here's the gradient. I love the way they look in person. And again, it's hard to see on the camera. And when I initially was stitching with them, I thought that the darker ones were not as modeled as the lighter ones. I mean, you can really see, sorry, I'm bad at holding things up for these videos. You can really see in the lighter floss, like you can really see the modeling in this. You know, you can see there's like a clear, like lighter sections and darker sections. Similar, even in the medium one, like, you know, you can really, I'm trying to make sure you can see it in the camera, but you can really see that there's like darker and lighter sections. And on the darker flosses, that's a lot harder to see in the skein, right? They look solid, but actually in the stitching in person, especially up close to it, you really can see that there's like a tiny bit of variegation in the floss. And again, it's very, very hard to see on the camera, but I'm going to try. Yeah, you really can't see it on the camera. But there's basically a lot. I counted it out. It's 80 by 80. The design is 80 by 80. There's 5 flosses. That means each floss gets 16 stitches across. And basically, I just took the pattern and drew lines on it for where I transition the flosses. And as I stitch it, I'm just transitioning the flosses. Unfortunately, like I said, it's really hard to see the difference between that first and second color on the camera. Hopefully once I stitch more of it in, you might be able to see it, but you can see it in person. Especially like on this heart, this little corner is stitched in the darkest color, and then this side is stitched in the second darkest color. And like in person, you can see that they are stitched in 2 different colors. I don't think you can in the camera. But it's coming out very cute, very dainty, because it's on the 40 count. I'm stitching it with 1 strand, 2 over 1, no, 1 over 2. So 1 strand over 2 threads in the fabric. Yeah, and it's looking gorgeous. I always feel funny too, because like this is a full fat quarter, and literally this is 4 by 4. And so I feel sort of funny, like cutting into a full fat quarter for a tiny little piece like that, but I reassured myself by reminding myself that I can always purchase more. This is not a color that like is limited edition or going to disappear. And there's a lot of beautiful neutrals out there, so I can always purchase more. Yeah, I'm one of those people who like, I have trouble using things because I want to save them for the right thing or for a special whatever. And so, ooh, I just love these colors. These are like my favorite colors of all time. If Coloring Cotton sold these separately, like I would buy like a hank of each of these. I just love them. And I actually bought like several of these gradient packs because I wanted to have like a lot of these colors of floss because I just love them so much. So I'm using this pack. I mean, I'll probably won't even use that much on this. And I'm like trying to figure out what else I can use these on because I just love them. But that's sweet. It's like a very small stitch. I think it's like 2,000 stitches. It's been a fun stitch so far. I'm like enjoying seeing the gradient start to come to life. And of course it's Valentine's theme, which I love. So keeping on the Valentine's theme, those are all my starts. It's a lot of starts for the last couple of weeks. Those are all my starts for the last couple of weeks. Now we're on to whips. So my first whip is keeping on the Valentine's theme. This is Heart Sampler by Bad Vibes Only. This is, I'm stitching it using the Called For DMC. She initially put it on pink fabric. I am putting it on navy blue. And here is my start. So I had started stitching this and then I stitched I finished this pattern, I stitched in this bottom section and I started this rib cage, this is full coverage, this little section. I'm loving it. I love the way it looks on the navy blue. I think like the pinks really pop. Red. They're pinks. Like it's like a very red pink, but this is a pink. It's 304. Actually, I mean, sort of similar to the bubblegum gradient. And one of the reasons that I didn't use, I thought about using that bubblegum gradient for this, but this calls for like a darker red, like a burgundy, which here, I'll hold them up with that, which is 814. And that did not come in that set. And also like you need a lot of, this is the primary color that this piece is stitched in. It's DMC 304 and you need like a lot of that. And I was just worried that I wasn't gonna have enough. So here is the color palette for this. I love it on the blue. It is 814, 304, 961, 963, and 3865, which is like warm white. So very pretty. I'm enjoying stitching on this as part of the Valentine's theme. I also really like that like sort of modern sampler feel. Dee from Dee's 20 Stitches was stitching this and like they were talking about like the combination between like the geometric stitching and like the samplery style, but also like more modern motifs. And that's something that I really do love about this design. And again, it's interesting because when I started my Two Men's Morris on the 25 count, one of the things that I was thinking about was this. Now this is 28 count Lugana. And if you look at these stitches, like you can really see the stitches, you know, you can really see that they're like little X's. And I like that. I like that you can see the stitches. I like that like it looks like cross stitch. And, you know, I sort of feel like on the 25 count, like that's a hard thing to see. Especially on hand dye 25 count, like it's a little bit smaller, whatever. So, you know, but I also was not willing to stitch. I mean, I think when I did the math, the Two Men's Morris would be like 20 by 20 or something on 28 count over 2. So like I was not stitching something that was 20 by 20. I just wasn't willing to do it for that piece. So yeah, so that's how I ended up on the 25 count. But I love the way this is coming out. I love the way this is looking. I'm getting great coverage on the Lugana. Like, it looks really good. The other nice thing about this is, I wouldn't say the fabric is fairly see-through, but like, it's actually not nearly as hard to stitch on as I was worried it would be. Especially, I keep some white hankies. I bought like cheap white handkerchiefs on Amazon, like cheap, I don't even know, but I keep them in my project bag, and when I'm stitching on this, I just like tuck the white wherever like is behind the fabric, and then I, you know, through the holes in the fabric you see white and it makes it easier to stitch. So that's my pro tip for stitching on dark fabric. And like I said, this dark fabric seems pretty easy to stitch on. Sorry if you're hearing barking. My dog is downstairs. She had a rough night. So very excitingly, the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Go Birds. I care very little about football. I really like football, but I have like serious ethical issues with the NFL and the sport, so I don't really support them. But I love Philadelphia, and Philadelphia loves the Eagles. So it's always, and like it's fun when your city's in a championship and whatever. So, you know, we've been having fun supporting the Eagles, and the Super Bowl last night was a blowout, and it's, you know, it's fun to see your team play well. I felt kind of bad for Kansas City fans because I don't know what happened there, but it just wasn't their night. And yeah. So, but the thing is, whenever the city wins, everybody celebrates. And so my poor dog she has very severe anxiety, and she has a really bad noise phobia. And so whenever there's like maybe going to be fireworks, like we don't go out for 4th of July. We don't go out for New Year's. Like we stay home because she needs to be like heavily medicated and supervised. So yeah. So my very saintly boyfriend slept downstairs with her last night, and we kept like white noise on all night for her, and we gave her a lot of meds, and you know, the struggles of the anxious dogs are real. Anyway, back to cross stitch. All right. I have also been working on my Birds from Bernard's books, which is a piece that I am hoping to gift to my boyfriend's parents. This is a modern folk embroidery piece. I have finished the middle section, and I stitched the border around the middle section. I was very excited to do this because I really wanted to be able to stitch these like long vertical lines in one go. However, I was talking to someone else who was stitching this, and I realized that now that I have stitched all of this in, I better not make any counting mistakes on the sides, because now that I've stitched those lines in, I'm not going to be able to fudge the sides if I need to. But I'm hopeful, and honestly, for a piece like this, which is symmetrical, like I'm willing to frog if I have to. The biggest thing for me is figuring out sort of what to use in terms of like a hoop, a Q-snap, because I don't want to crush the stitching that's already there. And I have had this issue with my Q-snaps, which I've talked about before, where it like leaves marks on my fabric. And so I've been putting felt under my Q-snap and just like moving the Q-snap around on this. But like, again, it's nice to be able to stitch these long lines like in one go. And I don't want to, I don't know. So I'm trying to figure that out. An 11 by 17 Q-snap is not quite wide enough. It's long enough, but it's not quite wide enough to like fit all of this and be able to stitch in it. And also they're very large and heavy to hold. And so, and I have a Lowry stand, but like an 11 by 17 Q-snap in the Lowry stand is also awkward. So I'm just not sure. I think I'm going to keep using, I usually use like an 11 by 8, an 8 by 11 Q-snap. You'll see, I actually have it on one of my pieces right now. Yeah, that's what I usually use, and it works. So what I'll probably do is just keep doing that and like moving it around. I don't think I'm going to wash this piece at the end because reds can run, but I will iron it. So I'm hoping that that sort of allows the stitches, if they get smushed, to like relax, and I won't like leave this in a Q-snap. So we'll see. I also have these like spring hoops that I really like that work amazing. They keep the fabric super tight. And, you know, the spring hoop marks do eventually come out because I did use the spring hoop on this at one point, and like you can't see the marks anymore because it's been handled so much. But again, I worry about that hoop like crushing the stitches now that there's more stitches in this. So yeah, I'm not sure. If anyone has thoughts or advice, like I'm happy to hear it. I think I'm just going to keep using the Q-snap, but yeah. And I love, this is 8/16 on paper bark by Fox and Rabbit. This is 32 count linen. Love this combo. Love this red. It's looking so gorgeous. I'm really enjoying stitching with it. I have exactly 7,800 stitches left, which is like a little bit less than half. This piece is about 16,000 stitches or so. And yeah, I actually love doing this like negative space stitching too. So I'm really looking forward to doing the sides. Yeah, it's looking amazing. I love it. I think my boyfriend's parents will love it. I'm like excited to finish it and gift it to them. All right. Next up, we have a mirror that I've been working on. And actually, this is sort of fun. So my friend Memphis Sarah E, I watched her whole 2-part whip parade. If you want a great whip parade and a great floss tuber, if you're not already watching Memphis Sarah E, I don't know why. She's awesome. And she is like, seriously, like the nicest person. She's so sweet. You know, it's always nice when you like meet floss tubers in person and you realize that they're like floss tube persona and their person, they're like who they actually are line up. And Sarah is definitely one of those people. She's like incredibly sweet, like friendly to everyone. Anyway, I really love watching her. You should watch her too. And she stitches a whole big variety of stuff, which I also like. Anyway, all that to say, I was watching her Flosstube and her whip parade, and she mentioned that she wanted to finish Mermaid of the Pearls and that she was going to be doing Mirror Monday, which is a thing that a lot of people do where they stitch their mirrors on Monday. Anyway, I have a Mirror Mermaid. I am working on Lilith of Labrador. Insert image here. And I had messaged her and been like, hey, why don't we do like Mermaid Monday? And that way, you know, you'll get some work in on your Mermaid of the Pearls, and I will definitely get some work in on my Lilith of Labrador. And she was like, that's great, let's start it. So I am now doing Mermaid Monday, and it is Monday, which is why I left this on the Q-snap. So here is where I am on my mermaid. This is my start on Lilith of Labrador. This is sort of the section where like her body bends and blends into her tail. This is like her skin on her torso here. So I had initially stitched in, this is a bunch of gray that sort of outlines her tail. I had initially stitched in the whole arc of her tail and then realized that I had a counting mistake. And so I had to frog out all of that stitching. And I was like, you know what? I'm not doing that again. I'm just going to stay in the section that I'm in and stitch down, so that way if I do make a mistake, I can adjust accordingly and do not have to frog so much. So I've started filling in her tail with the water lily and some of the greens. This Mira, and I think, so I really like the Nora mermaids. I am not as into the Mira mermaids. I have Enchanted Mermaid, who I think is beautiful and very stately. I think they're called Mermaids of the Deep Blue. It's like the two mermaids like twining around each other. I would stitch those, but I am much more of like a big dress girl. I'm not a big tail girl. I'm a big dress girl. So I tend to be drawn much more to like the queens and the fairies and more of that style of mirabilias. But I do love Lilith, especially because I love that she's sort of spooky and like has like the, you know, the purple hair and like the purple skin, and I'm just into that. So anyway, I don't know that I'll stitch another Mira, but her tail is a lot of fill-in, but it's not just like one solid. It's not even like one variegated floss. So there is quite a bit of fill-in, but you do have to count. You know, so even like in this section, you know, you have to count, like you can see these little like random ninja stitches sort of like floating around to create a blend and all that. And so it is block stitching, but it requires like a little bit more attention than just like filling in a shape, which I find enjoyable because I feel like it's a good balance between like very fussy confetti and just like, you know, filling in a house or whatever. So not really a house stitcher. So that's where I am. I'm going to work on her today. I am probably going to end up gifting her to a friend. I have a friend who like loves these colors and loves mermaids and like who is basically like family to me. And yeah, I think she would really enjoy having this piece. I'm not like stitching it for her, but if she wants it when I'm done, like I will gift it to her. So that feels like a good motivation to like focus on her so that I, you know, can gift her if my friend wants her and she's not like, you know, 10 years from now, like, hey, didn't you say like you were working on that mermaid? Speaking of mermaids, I did not get my hands on the Autumn Lane mermaid box, and I am very sad about that. The Autumn Lane boxes tend to sell out extremely quickly, and I missed out on the Autumn Lane mermaid box, and let me tell you, the good news is they do release the patterns, like, usually I think like a year, 18 months after the box. The big, like, fancy lady mermaid in that box is gorgeous. I am obsessed. Catherine, I'll put her Flosstube in the description box below, but she did an unboxing of the mermaid box and like, that mermaid pattern is so pretty. Catherine actually also stitches a lot of really beautiful fancy ladies and has done like some of the Brooks Books princess dresses. She has them hanging behind her. I want to eventually stitch some of those. So like, I really like her Flosstube. You should totally check her out. But yeah, so I just filled in a little bit over here. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm going to keep working down into her tail, I think. Yeah, she's a really enjoyable stitch, pretty relaxing, pretty easy as Mira's go. She's not huge. I mean, she has a big tail, but again, like Mira's big. And she's going to be really pretty. And she uses 2 skeins of one of her water lilies, so it's a lot of stitching with the silk, which is really, I mean, it's just nice. It feels nice. It looks pretty, so yeah, there she's at, and I have her all prepped and ready to go to stitch later today. And then my other Mira that I worked on this week was Snow Maiden. I always want to call her Snow Goddess. No, Snow Maiden. And I didn't really stitch much on her. The big difference with her is, so in the past, I've mostly started my Miras in the middle. But recently I decided I wanted a bit of a change. So the last few, so I've recently started Snow Maiden, Persephone, and Baker's Wife, and all 3 of those I actually started at the top. So I started at their heads. And this is one of them. And the big difference is that I actually backstitched in her face. So here she is, backstitched in her face. She's looking really pretty. It's kind of nice to have a face and not just like a blank, you know, white head staring at me. But yeah, so it's looking really good. I love this piece. I love the colors. I'm stitching this on, I think it's 32 count Morning Mist by Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers. My last one, the Mermaid, is on 32 count Fieldstone by Color and Cotton. Although these are both grays, they're slightly different grays. Also, that's Lugana, and this Snow Maiden is linen. This is a cooler gray, with more of like a blue undertone. That is slightly warmer looking with more of like a green undertone, but, yeah, so very pretty, loving her. Sorry, I'm putting things away as I go too, so. All right, and then my last whip that I have to talk about is my Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow, which, as you all know, is coming along. I am working on the 4th block, and I am stitching. So the way that I tend to stitch this piece is I tend to stitch everything in with half stitches and then leave it so that way I can not have to look at the pattern and can just fill in once I am done sort of like sketching out the forms. So right now I have all of the bats done and basically filled in. I have to fill in that wing, but all the bats are done to be crossed over. You can see the difference, obviously. I need to finish the crosses on these lightning bolts. There is lettering up here. And then there's some fill-in on this house and these bricks down here. And that's it. So not a lot left to go on this block, really. You know, I say that it's probably like hundreds of stitches, but as the blocks go, not a lot left to go. Yeah, this is a lighter stitching block, especially after stitching block 3, which is very heavy because of that like huge moon in the ground and all that. And block 5 is almost full coverage. So I'm enjoying the slightly lighter block. Now it just okay. So some people stitch this like out of order. They just, they finish the border and then they stitch whatever they want. And I understand that I could do that, and there's no reason that I like have to stitch them in order. There's a part of me that's like, no, like you finish 4 and you move on to 5. Like that's how you do it. That being said, like I'm intimidated a bit by the like more full coverage blocks. And so there's a part of me that's like, maybe I should also. So there's also a part of me that like wants to start the center block. And so my initial plan, like I said, was to finish this by the Halloween of when I'm 40. And in order to do that, so I am currently 36. So this year's Halloween, 37, 38, 39, 40, right? So I have basically 4 years, 3 years and like a little bit from February. So 3 years, 8 months to do the last 8 block. Well, finish the 4th block and then do the last 8 blocks. However, if I do 2 blocks a year, that would mean splitting this middle block, because I would do 5 and 6, then 7 and 8, and 5 and 6 again splits that middle block. So there's a part of me that's like, maybe next year I should just do that middle block, or maybe that's the next thing I should start. But it's really hard for me to go out of order. And like, in theory, I could start another block while I'm finishing block 4, but I like won't. I won't do that either. It just feels weird. I don't know. There's something about it. And I'm like trying to break myself of that, because I think I do want to stitch those 2 middle blocks together. So then I'm like, maybe I should just stitch all the other blocks and save the middle for last. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. I know it doesn't actually matter, but I'm very torn. And I do, like I said, I have the whole border finished, so I can go wherever I want to go next. But yeah. I also tend to, despite the fact that this is huge, like I'm gonna wash it when I'm done. And so I do tend to take this with me places. That's the other reason why I tend to like do the half crosses and then fill in, because this is actually quite good travel stitching, because it's like easy to see. It's just DMC. I know I'm gonna wash it, so I don't have to be like as precious with it as I am with some other stuff. It's a paper pattern, so like I don't have to have my tablet with me. So yeah, let me know what you think, where I should go next. All right, so plans. So it is Mermaid Monday. I want to work some on my Lilith for sure. It is Pyro Stitches on Instagram. It is Pyro Stitches' birthday, and they are doing an owl sal, and I will put the hashtag down below. I love owls. I have a tattoo of an owl. I have like owl stuff everywhere. There are several animals that I really love. I like animals, and I mentioned Bryn Mawr earlier. Owls are like the mascot of Bryn Mawr. And Bryn Mawr is like very into the classics, like Greek and Roman classics, ancient Greek and Roman classics. And the like patron goddess of Bryn Mawr is Athena, the goddess of wisdom, and Athena's familiar is an owl. So owls are a big thing at Bryn Mawr. I love them. And Pyro Stitches is doing a birthday sal of owls. Yay! So, and that's today. Today is Pyro Stitch's birthday, so happy birthday. And I do want to stitch on some owl things today. So I have 100 owls by Owl Forest Embroidery on the go, so I could work on that. I also pulled out, so I have Una Owl by the Artsy Housewife. And I purchased the Roxy Flossco conversion for this. So Roxy Flossco does conversions for a lot of the Artsy Housewife patterns, and they're really nice. And so I have the Roxy Flossco conversion. This is what it looks like. Very pretty. And it's actually really nice. So when Roxy Flossco does a conversion, it actually comes in like a little pack labeled with the name of the pattern. And then it will also have a little card that says what the called for is, and then what the conversion is, and the number of skeins in the pack. So very cool. So that's my Una Owl. I have several Roxy Flosco conversions for artsy housewife pieces. So I have 2 fabric choices that I was considering to start her on today. This is one of them. So I believe the called for fabric is Eureka by Fox and Rabbit. And it looks like almost a pale, like yellowy green in the photo. And so I pulled a much greener green, which I think is really pretty and would work nicely for Una Owl. So there's the green. And then the other color that I was thinking that might be kind of fun, I really like yellow. And so the other color that I was thinking that might be kind of fun is this yellow. Now, I think I would have to switch out... Well, I think this yellow is like really only used in the owl's eyes. But let me know what you think. Now that I'm like looking at this in the camera, I like the yellow, but I like the green more. So I'm thinking I would go with the green if I decide to start Una Owl today. So yeah, there's the Roxy Flosco conversion. Here's the picture. So I think that would be like a fun start today. I own a bunch of artsy housewife patterns and I have not stitched one yet. I don't know what I'm waiting for. So I'm also tempted to start this because I really love her patterns and I want to stitch them. So it's like a good excuse to get started on one. The other sort of, it's not exactly an owl pattern, but I have an Athena pattern by Caturnian Creations. Caturnian? I don't know how to pronounce it, but her designs are really awesome. She has an Athena pattern that I love. I'll put it up here, that I've been thinking about starting. And she also has a book called The Emerging Queendom, which is amazing. I did the Kickstarter for it. And it is a book with a bunch of like fables and fairy tales. And then each tale has a pattern associated with it. And there's a beautiful pattern from that book, and I'll put up an image of it here, and that is also an owl themed pattern. I don't have floss or fabric pulled for those, but like I said, I have an extensive collection and I love going through it. So I will very happily go through those and take a look and see if I can pull out something that sparks my joy and get those started. So I think like now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, I have it. It's here. Why not? So I do think I'm going to start Una Owl. It'll be, like I said, my first artsy housewife piece and I have a lot of them. So like, it'll be a good start. And yeah. So other plans, I want to keep stitching on my Valentine stuff because 'tis the season and the pinks and reds make me happy. And it's a good excuse to work on that stuff. I try to work on my chatelaines on Chatelaine Wednesday. I have not managed that in the last few weeks, but this Wednesday I'm going to try. I work part-time and Wednesday is one of the days that I work. And so I don't always have as much stitching time on Wednesdays as I would like to like really sit down and get a good chunk in. But even if you put in a strand at a time, right? Like you're making progress. So yeah. I don't tend to do haul in these videos because I am always buying stuff. And so the haul section would be long. But if you ever want me to do some haul, like I'm happy to add that in. But yeah, let me know what you think of my stitching. Thank you all for hanging it out with me and hanging in there. The world is like a really scary place right now, especially in America, but all over. I've been really struggling with politics. I've been using crafting, like many of us have, as a source for comfort. I just want to speak up and say, like, I am a queer stitcher. I have many friends who are queer, who are trans, who are threatened by this administration, and it's super messed up and it's wrong, and it is taking everything in my power to not use very colorful language, but I will just say that nothing that's happening is okay. And I hope that we, as the American people, that our politicians, that all of us can stop this because it's not okay. And I hope too that your crafting has been a source of comfort and refuge for you. It definitely has been for me. Yeah, and if you're feeling alone, if you're feeling scared, if you're feeling sad, just know that you are not alone, and that there are people out there who think that all of this is really, really messed up. And there's a lot of people out there who think that all of this is really, really messed up and who are ready to support and protect you, and who want to support and protect you. Yeah, sorry to end the video on a somber note, but it felt like it needed to be said. Yeah, so I hope that you all have a good few weeks, that you enjoy your stitching, that you can find things in your life to take comfort and joy in. Philadelphia certainly is taking comfort and joy in the Eagles right now, which is, you know, mostly a good thing, except for the fireworks. I could leave the fireworks. The fireworks can stop, but the rest of it, great, fabulous, yay, go birds. All right, happy stitching, everyone. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.